There is a photograph that raises money, and there is a photograph the person in it would be proud to show their family, and the honest work of charity storytelling is making sure those are the same picture. Every time your charity tells someone's story, you are borrowing a piece of their life, and how you handle it says more about your values than any mission statement ever will. Get this right and you build lasting trust with the people you serve and the people who support you. Get it wrong, and you can take a person who came to you at their lowest moment and put that moment on a poster forever. This video is about doing it well, about photographs, real consent, dignity, honest representation, and the quiet power gap sitting in every frame. One honest note first. This is educational content only. We are not lawyers, and consent, data protection, and safeguarding rules differ from country to country and change over time. So please check the current requirements where you operate and follow your own safeguarding policy. What we can offer here is the ethical craft and the questions worth asking before you press the shutter. Why how you tell a story is an ethical choice. Let us start with the thing that is easy to forget when you are busy and the appeal is due on Friday. Every story you tell is about a real person who will still be living their life long after your campaign ends. They will be applying for jobs, meeting new neighbors, raising children, and the internet does not forget. The choice you make about which photo, which words, and which moment to show is not just a creative choice, it is a decision about how a real human being will be seen by strangers. That makes it an ethical choice, and it deserves the same care you would give to money or safeguarding. This is not about being timid or refusing to tell hard truths. It is about remembering that the person in your story is the point, not the raw material. Hold that thought, and most of the difficult decisions in this video answer themselves. The power gap in every photograph. Here is the uncomfortable thing that sits underneath all of this, and we have to name it. When your charity asks someone for their photograph or their story, you are not two equals having a chat. You may be the organization providing their food, their housing, their therapy, their child's place. Even if you would never dream of it, some part of them may fear that saying no could affect what they receive, or seem ungrateful, or disappoint someone who has been kind to them. That imbalance does not disappear because you are nice or because you smiled when you asked. So the burden is on you to actively remove the pressure. Ask at a time when they are not in crisis, ask through someone they trust, say plainly and more than once that saying no changes nothing at all, and mean it visibly. If you never consider that gap, you will get consent that is technically given and not actually free. What informed consent really means. So what does real consent look like? It means the person genuinely understands what they are agreeing to before they agree to it. Not a form pushed across a table, not a nod in a busy room. They should know where this photo or story will appear, on your website, on social media, on a poster, in a funding bid. They should know how long you might use it, roughly how many people might see it, and that once something is on the internet, you cannot fully take it back. They should know whether their real name is used and that they can ask for a first name only or no name at all. Explain it in their language, in plain words, without jargon or legal fog. Then ask them to say it back to you, so you know it landed. Consent is not a signature you collect, it is an understanding you build, and the signature is only the record of it. The right to say no and to change their mind. Consent that cannot be refused is not consent, and consent that cannot be withdrawn is barely better. Make both of those genuinely real. From the first conversation, tell people that no is a complete answer, that it will not affect their support in any way, and that plenty of people say no and that is entirely fine. Then, when they do say yes, tell them they can change their mind later, and tell them exactly how to reach you if they do. People's lives change. A woman who was happy to talk about leaving an abusive relationship may feel very differently 3 years on, when her new colleagues might see it. When someone asks you to take something down, do it quickly, kindly, and without asking them to justify it, and do not make them feel they have caused you a problem. Yes, that can mean losing a photo you love, lose it. The relationship matters more than the image. Poverty porn and why it backfires. Now let us talk about the thing everyone recognizes and nobody wants to admit doing, the manipulative image, the hollow-eyed child looking at the camera, the stage tear, the person shown only in their worst moment, stripped of every other part of who they are. It is used because it works in the short term, which is exactly what makes it tempting when you are desperate, but look at what it costs. It strips dignity from the person in the frame. It teaches your supporters that the people you serve are helpless and pitiable rather than capable people in a hard situation. And it wears out because audiences grow numb to it and increasingly distrust it. Stories told with respect actually build deeper, longer relationships with supporters because they are believable. You do not need to hide hardship, you need to show a whole person facing it, which is far more moving than a prop. Dignity inside the frame. So what does a dignified image look like in practice? Ask a few simple questions before you press the shutter. Is this person doing something or being done to? Are they looking at us as an equal or being looked down on? Would I be comfortable if this were a picture of my sister, my father, my child? Show people with agency, working, laughing, deciding, holding their own life in their hands, rather than posed as passive recipients of your kindness. Show them in their own setting with the things that matter to them. Let them have a say in how they are photographed, and show them the picture afterwards, because someone who sees a photo they like is far happier than someone who never saw it at all. Dignity is not the same as prettiness, and it does not mean pretending everything is fine. It means the person keeps their standing as a full human being, whatever the picture shows. Telling the truth about people's lives, ethical storytelling is also about accuracy, which sounds dull but matters enormously. Do not make one person's story stand for everyone's. Do not tidy a messy outcome into a triumph because a triumph raises more. Do not exaggerate suffering, invent quotes, or stitch together a composite person and present them as real. If you use a stock image or an actor, say so. If a story is one person's experience rather than a typical one, say that too. And be honest about your own role, because your charity is rarely the sole hero of anyone's recovery. The person did the hard work, their family, their neighbors, other services, and a great deal of their own courage were all in there. A story that quietly claims all the credit is both untrue and frankly less moving than the truth. Supporters can feel honesty, and it is the foundation everything else you tell them sits on. Words matter as much as pictures. You can take a respectful photograph and then undo all of it with the captions. So watch your language. Talk about people, not cases, beneficiaries, or the vulnerable. Say a person experiencing homelessness rather than a homeless, because they are not the category. Avoid the language of rescue, saving, and giving a voice to the voiceless, because people already have voices. They have been living their own lives with considerable skill in circumstances you may not have survived. Use their own words wherever you can, and let them sound like themselves rather than being smoothed into your house style. Check the name they want used and the pronouns and the details about their community. And read it back asking one question. If this person read this out loud to someone they respect, would they wince? If the answer is yes, the words are wrong, no matter how well they perform. Children and extra care. Some situations demand more care than others, and children are the clearest. A child cannot give meaningful consent to something that will follow them into adulthood. So you need the informed permission of a parent or guardian, and you should still ask the child themselves and honor their no, even when the adult has said yes. Think hard about identifying details. The school badge in the background, the street sign, the surname, the location, all of which can add up to something you would not choose to publish. The same extra care applies to anyone whose safety could be affected by being seen, people fleeing violence, people with insecure immigration status, people in recovery, anyone whose story could be used against them. When you are unsure, follow your safeguarding policy, ask someone more experienced, and remember that no picture is worth a person's safety. Rules on all of this vary by country and change, so check yours. Storing, reusing, and retiring images. Finally, the unglamorous part that quietly causes most of the harm, what happens to the material afterwards. Charities lose track. A photo taken for one leaflet in a rush ends up on a poster 10 years later, long after the person moved on, and nobody can find whether they ever agreed to that. So keep a simple record with every image and story. who is in it, what they agreed to, for how long, who to contact, and any limits they set. Store the files securely and do not leave them on a former volunteer's phone. Set a review point, and when consent has run out, or you cannot prove what it covered, retire the image rather than gambling with it. Have one clear route for someone to ask for their story to be removed, and make sure the person who answers your inbox knows what to do with that request. Good record keeping is not bureaucracy here, it is how you keep a promise. Quick recap, let us bring it together. Every story you tell belongs to a real person who will live with it long after your campaign. So how you tell it is an ethical choice, not just a creative one. Name the power gap and work to remove the pressure, because consent given by someone who depends on you is not free unless you make it free. Build real informed consent where people understand where the story goes and for how long, and protect their right to say no and to change their mind later without any awkwardness. Refuse the manipulative image because it strips dignity and it wears out. Show people with agency. Tell the truth about outcomes and about your own role. Choose your words as carefully as your pictures. Take extra care with children and anyone at risk, and keep clear records so an old photo never outlives its permission. None of this makes your storytelling weaker. That is the thing worth holding on to. Charities sometimes fear that ethics is a set of handcuffs that will cost them donations, but the opposite tends to be true, because a story told with honesty and respect is more believable, more memorable, and more likely to build a supporter who stays for a decade. It also keeps you the kind of organization the people you serve can trust with the hardest parts of their lives, which is the whole point of your existence. So here is your simple start. This week, take one photograph or story you currently use and ask 2 questions about it. Do we actually know what this person agreed to? And would they be proud to show this to someone they love? Whatever you find, act on it. Remember that everything here is educational only. We are not lawyers, and consent, data protection, and safeguarding rules vary by country and change over time. So verify the current requirements where you operate and follow your own safeguarding policy. If this helped, subscribe for more practical, honest charity marketing you can actually use, and take a look at the companion written guide linked below. We will keep turning big, intimidating topics into calm, doable steps, one video at a time.